rarely become household names. Actors and actresses do. You're not just a household name in India, but if you ask Americans who Meera Nair is, and if they're interested in cinema at all, the chances are they will know. It's a very unique position for a director to be so well regarded in India, and to be so well regarded in what? The most competitive film industry in the world, in America. And you've done this pretty much on your own terms. You're still a director. She talked about doing things that she wanted to do. And you, like Nalita, have done things that you want to do. And your canvas has been pretty much the whole world, because you've made films everywhere from Africa to India to America to other places as well. So when you started out, was this what you wanted to do?
No, I began as an actor, actually.
Really?
Also, I began as a stage actor, and I grew up in Orissa. I was born in Rourkela, and then lived in Bhubaneswar for most of my life. My father was a civil servant. It was theatre that propelled me to perform, mostly the theatre of originally the traditional jatra form of theatre, the mythological theatre that would come through Bhubaneswar. And I just saw how one could transform and transport an audience through a great oral storytelling, but very few props. In the case of the jatra, a little bit of hashish. And I was struck, and I was definitely taken. And that I pursued with Badal Sarkar. I worked with him, the great playwright in Kolkata, as well as Barry John, who was our director of the Theatre Action Group in Delhi. So I actually started as an actor, but then got a scholarship to come abroad to the United States, where I performed, but I had to get credits for things, so I stumbled into, literally without having a design, into filmmaking. But was taught by wonderful gurus of the cinema verite, of the truth tradition, the documentary truth tradition, by Ricky Leacock and Penny Baker, and then started making documentaries, all in India, and finally leading to my first fiction film, which was Salam Bombay, shot right here in the streets. I mean, to be in this hotel is very weird, because it was Bhaikala then, and this is where I did a lot of shooting just around here, in a film that now would be a period film. There's no longer the Bombay that I saw.
It's not even called Bombay any longer. Yeah.
Huh?
It's not even called Bombay. It would be Salam Bombay. But if there was no Salam Bombay, there would be no Slumdog Millionaire. Around the time when you made that film, at least in Hollywood or the Oscars and places like that, India was an exotic place. They knew nothing about us. So what was that journey like, getting that film made?
Salam Bombay was a life and death story, seriously. It was not, no one knew me, no one had the money for me. I got a little grant of $150,000 from NFDC, the National Film Development Corporation, for which they sucked my blood dry, but they gave me the money. And went to Channel 4 in England, who matched that money, and that was the money with which I started the film. But the point was that I didn't want to apologize for the cinema. I didn't want to say I'm from the third world and that's why it looks out of focus and that's why it does this. I blew the entire 300,000 on 35mm cameras, on great diffusion, good lighting, but on the streets with street children. So, but having no money really to finish the film in post-production, which is where the French came in. I would shoot in the morning, and at night I would raise money on the phone, because Europe was still 6 hours waking up. And that is how we made that film. It was you know, really difficult, and I never knew from one day to the next whether I would be shooting, but we did. It was 52, there's a line at the end of the film, no guts, no glory, 52 locations, 52 days. What problem? No problem, which is what the kids would tell me. And and that was, I mean, like brutal, but also beautiful, because I got to tell it exactly my way, and also had the great stewardship and collaboration from my wonderful writer and close friend, Suni Tarapurwala, whose the streets of Bombay are her beat. She's the Bombay wala, I'm the Delhi wala. So, you know, it was a very extraordinary film that we finished, and then we went to Cannes. I had never been to a feature film festival before, but they had invited it, and there we won all the prizes, and thankfully one prize, the Camera d'Or, came with $50,000, which was the exact amount of debt that I had on my head after that film. But the beautiful thing about that film, which doesn't happen often, was the question that I had before making film, like Nandita said earlier to me, like, can art change the world? Can we do with our work something that makes you think of the world differently? And for me, Salam Bombay was a way always from the first day to honor street children, to give them back a childhood that they had fled from, but not to just clean them up and give them dinner and then forget about them. And so we formed from the profits of the film Salam Balak Trust, which is still thriving today, 38 some years later, a foundation for street kids. We have several centers for street kids. We house, we educate. We've brought the arts in a big way to Salam Balak Trust. So our kids are puppeteers, our writers, our screenwriters, our performers, as well as going to regular school. And that's extraordinary to change the government policy actually on street kids so many years later. So it's actually something I told Danny Boyle, the director of Slumdog, to get involved with us, because it's not easy to set up these things. We have staff of about 180 social workers now at Salam Balak Trust. He didn't do that route, but it's a route that we've proven has worked, and it really has changed.